What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, in today's video, we're gonna be talking about Wolverine number 7, written by Benjamin Percy and Jerry Duggan, with art by Joshua Cassera. And in this video, we are gonna learn that Saturnine's weird rules and contest for this Ten of Swords event get even weirder than they did even in Excalibur number 14. And more importantly, we're gonna see Saturnine go for a bit of revenge against Wolverine and Storm, as well as Summoner get his comeuppance. We're gonna talk about all that and more right now, but first, wash your damn hands and let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click, click.
Okay, so we're not gonna stand on ceremony here. This Contest of Swords thing is just getting wilder with the telling. It's weird. It's weird, and I'm here for it. It's whatever. But one of the things that I think is gonna be a big point of contention for a lot of people, I can already hear it now. I'm pretty sure it's already been happening in the comments for the previous video. And I'm gonna go and tell you right now, I know a lot of people are probably gonna be pissed off at this, but I'm perfectly okay with it because, I mean, it's Otherworld, and Otherworld is weird, and Saturnine does what Saturnine wants. But we get to see Magik face off against Ur-Pogg, and it's a very interesting one because they've already had some banter back and forth in Marauders number 14. So yeah, it's they're already kind of not here for each other's shit. And as they cross swords with one another, Saturnine is not the least bit interested in having them have a contest of actual swords. For what she desires is a contest of arms, and by arms, she means arm wrestling. Now, as one would imagine, Ur-Pogg being a giant beast with multiple arms, all of which are bigger than Magik by even a country mile, you already know how this is gonna go. Ur-Pogg easily defeats Magik. It doesn't even take him but a panel to do so. And already Araco is up 3-1 against Krakoa. I'm almost surprised he didn't break Magik's arm or even rip it off for that matter, but I guess, yeah, I think the only thing really wounded here is Magik's pride. Though I'm pretty sure she knew she couldn't beat Ur-Pogg in an arm wrestling match either, but who knows? Next up is going to be the contest between Wolverine and Summoner. Wolverine drew the card of strength, which was not to be strength like in the physical form, but strength of mind, strength of spirit and soul. And this is also going to be interesting because their fight is not going to be at the Starlight Citadel, but in Blightspoke, which we spoke of in a previous video. This is a realm that where literally is like a graveyard of all realities. It's also a realm that is going to constantly try to kill you, and very few people ever actually try to live there. Wolverine's opponent? None other than Summoner. The reason why is because of the people on both sides, Krakoa and Araco, they are the most indestructible ones. Wolverine has a ridiculously fast healing factor, and Summoner's mutant power is being invulnerable. And as Saturnine says, it's not Summoner who Wolverine is going to be fighting to the death. This fight to the death is actually going to be against Blightspoke. Saturnine wants to see how long these two characters who cannot die, supposedly, she wants to see how long they can last in a realm that is going to constantly try to kill them. And it's interesting watching Wolverine and Summoner kind of battle through all this, because even as they're battling against the reality of Blightspoke, they're also still fighting each other in a lot of respects. But ultimately, the one weakness that Summoner has that he told Santos about back in X-Men number 12 is finally come back to bite Summoner in the ass. His one weakness is his eyes, and Wolverine hucks the Muramasa blade directly into them, killing Summoner. Now, this brought me a lot of happiness. I have been so ready to see Apocalypse snap his belt just like Pops in House Party right before he beat the brakes off Kid after him running around and sneaking out after being grounded and all other stuff, hanging out with Play, when you Play's parents are going there kicking it, talking about it ain't my type of hype, baby. Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, we're finally gonna get that shit. Even in death, Summoner wins. You see, Wolverine killed Summoner. This was a fight to the death. However, the wording was off. This was a fight to the death, and whoever died won. So now Arakko is up 4-1 on Krakoa. Now, one thing is definitely for certain. Summoner is not going to stay dead. Something tells me War is going to have the White Sword resurrect him, as it was alluded to in the conversation they had in Marauders number 15, where the Summoner said specifically that if he is ever going to die, he only plans on dying once, and he has no interest in being like one of the White Sword's many warriors who are resurrected daily. Something tells me that is going to be very much against his wishes, and it's going to happen. The next contest is an even weirder one, where Mad Jim Jaspers has put together a drinking contest. He has brought forth the finest liquor in all the multiverse, and Storm and Wolverine have to have a drinking contest. Now, this one's made more interesting by the fact that Wolverine is not really all that interested in having a drinking contest with Storm, and Storm seems more than happy to try and drink Wolverine under the table. Now, this drinking contest is more ominous than what it may appear because Mad Jim Jaspers is involved in this, and we've all kind of been waiting, I think, for Mad Jim Jaspers to insert himself in this contest in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and he finally has. You see, what he's done is that he's cut a deal with Death. Death has given Mad Jim Jaspers something of great value, something for his crooked market, and Mad Jim Jaspers can't help but be enamored by it and do whatever Death asks him to do. And what it was, likely, was to put something in their liquor or give them some type of a liquor that's going to nullify Wolverine's healing factor. And if it nullifies Wolverine's healing factor, something tells me it's going to do something to Storm as well. But since she has no healing factor, maybe it's going to nullify her control over the elements. Something that I think, if that is actually the case and Death is trying to set her up for failure in their fight against one another, something tells me that's going to backfire on Death, because as I said in my video where I broke down the history, the powers, and the abilities of Storm, her abilities are not just limited to controlling the weather. Storm is a woman who has fought some of the biggest and baddest in the Marvel Universe without her powers. And more often than not, she's walked away with the dub. Well, you're probably asking yourself, why does Death want to rob Wolverine of his healing factor? What good would it do him? Well, the good news is that I don't think Death knew about Solem's deal with Wolverine. However, his timing is no less impeccable. Just as Krakoa had to face off against each other for one particular contest in this contest of not swords, so too does Arakko. And this time, it's Solem and War, a battle that War could not be more thirsty for. A lot of you probably remember all the solicits talking about, oh, Wolverine and Storm, they're going to be rekindling that relationship, they're going to be getting back together. I want to put some cold water on that for a minute, because that's actually not what they were teasing. They did that probably to get you to buy the comic, thinking that, Storm was going to be leaving T'Challa permanently and going to be going back to old Fuzzball. I don't think that's the case, because right now they're both incredibly drunk. And yeah, they probably do most likely still have feelings for each other. They probably do still want to clap each other's cheeks. However, Solem is not going to let that happen. Back in Wolverine number 6, Solem and Wolverine cut a deal for the Muramasa blade. There were 2 blades that were created, and Solem got his hands on both of them, and he offered Wolverine one in return for a huge favor. And that favor, we didn't know what it was at the time, and I kind of posited that it might be a fight, that he might want Wolverine to fight someone for him. And originally I thought maybe it might be Wolverine turning on one of his own, but no, he wanted Wolverine to fight in his place. He wants Wolverine to fight War for him. He has no interest in fighting War, maybe because he knows that he'll lose. We have to go back and remember the fact that when he killed Bracken, he did actually point out that Bracken picked a fight that he knew he would lose. Solem must have some idea that War can defeat him. Or he simply has no interest in facing her, because we also must remember that War is the only person who's ever spurned his advances. Remember, he has this kind of natural charisma where everyone wants to do things for him. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants to be with him. War is the only one, even before he killed her husband Bracken, War is the only one who really had no interest in him. And Wolverine, hung over as all get out, and also not having his healing factor, now must face off with War in a contest of swords that has a slightly different rule set. This isn't a fight to the death. This isn't a fight till someone's knocked down. This is technically a first blood match, or shall I say a first appendage match. Whoever loses an appendage first will be the loser. Not only that, but Solem informs War that Wolverine did in fact just kill her son in a contest to the death. death, something that War was not aware of yet. And now that she knows, she's gonna fight even harder against Wolverine to take him down. You see, this was something that Saturnine saw coming, and Solem knew about this as well. Apparently, whatever card Solem got when he arrived at the Starlight Citadel was the Three of Swords, which depicted himself, Wolverine, and War. So Saturnine knew this was coming. And you're probably sitting here wondering, how does Wolverine know his healing factor is gone? Well, it's because he's still drunk. And if he's still drunk, that means he doesn't have his healing factor. His healing factor pretty much makes it to where it's almost impossible for him to get drunk unless he's drinking some of the most powerful intoxicants in the universe. And even though he kind of has been for a good chunk, he hasn't been really all that drunk. And now that they're set to fight, War has every intention of cleaving Wolverine's head from his body and killing him. She comes pretty close on a couple of different occasions of removing an appendage from him. Now, we do learn that apparently whatever was going on with Magik, Jaspers, and Death, this was something that was also set up by Saturnine. This is revenge for Wolverine trying to kill her, and she basically put Wolverine in a position where he could very well potentially die. So at the end of it all, this actually had nothing to do with Death and his feelings towards Wolverine and Storm. Well, maybe it did, but it had more to do with the fact that Wolverine conspired to kill Saturnine, and Storm was in on it. Even though she didn't act on it, she knew about the plan and did nothing to stop him. So Storm is going to be forced to suffer as well. The good news is that War is so upset and so pissed off about the death of her son that she's not fighting with her A-game. And even though she is about to cleave Wolverine's head from his body, she's so caught up in monologuing, she doesn't even realize that Wolverine has stopped using his sword and is now using his claws, and cleaves her left hand smooth off. Now, because this was originally a fight between Arakko and Arakko, only Arakko could win, even with Wolverine standing in for him. Wolverine does not gain a point for Krakoa. He only gains a point for Arakko. So in a weird sense, yes, Wolverine did kind of slick betray his team. He betrayed his side, even though he did it indirectly. He didn't know that this was how it was going to play out, and Solem most certainly did. So technically, Wolverine scored a point for the enemy. Not just once in an issue, but twice. Now, there's only 3 more contests likely that are going to take place. I think we're in an Iron Man match situation where I think we're going to wind up with a tie. Krakoa has taken so many L's in just 1 week's worth of comics, and something tells me they're going to bounce back. Just like all Iron Man matches tend to go, they're usually not one-sided affairs, not typically. But over the course of issues X-Force number 14, Hellions number 6, and Cable number 6 next week, something tells me that Krakoa is going to catch up on those points, and what will ultimately wind up happening is that Krakoa and Arakko will be tied 5-up, and that they will likely have to have some kind of a sudden death to figure out who's going to be the actual victor, and that sudden death could virtually be anything. And even after that, the week after, we still have X-Men number 15, Excalibur number 15, and 10 of Swords Destruction number 1. So there's a lot that can happen, and who knows, Krakoa may lose this whole thing, period, hook, line, and sinker. Hell, they could potentially lose the entire game and there is no sudden death, and we'll just spend the rest of this time watching Arakko try to invade Krakoa. You never know. But anyways, let me know what you thought about Saturnine's weird wording for her rules in this 10 of Swords contest, and how this is, for the most part, not entirely been all about the swords to begin with. Wash your damn hands and sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in a buck, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra!